Discover the hidden truths of coffee and its sacred influence on your soul's awakening. I never expected a single dream to change everything. But that's exactly what happened. It was one of those restless nights, where shadows creep in and doubts swirl like mist. I tossed and turned, my heart pounding. Something was missing, a void deep within me. Then came the dream. I stood in a coffee shop, not just any coffee shop, but a mystical place where every sip of coffee glimmered with light. The aroma wrapped around me, thick and sweet, almost tangible. I could feel the energy radiating from each cup, whispering secrets from ancient times. They say coffee beans were gifted by the gods, a divine elixir that bridges the gap between the mundane and the transcendent. I could almost hear the echoes of ancestors who once relied on this sacred drink to awaken their spirits. As I walked among the wooden tables, the barista looked at me, her eyes swirling with wisdom. "You seek answers," she said. Her voice was a blend of warmth and urgency, pulling me closer. I could feel the energy buzzing in my fingers, the static of something powerful about to unfold. The walls were adorned with murals of vibrant, cosmic spirals, hinting at the unseen forces at play. But whispers filled the air, too. Whispers speaking of a curse. Drinking the wrong brew could lead to despair. A sip too strong might lift your soul out of its shell, but also risk it being lost among the stars. I could feel the apprehension settling in my chest, a tightness that made it hard to breathe. How could something so beloved be so dangerous? Outside, the day transformed into night in a flicker. The sun dipped low, splashing colors across the widening sky. This wasn't just a coffee shop. It felt like a nexus of the universe, a point of connection where destinies collided. I needed to know more, to dive deeper into the hidden realm of coffee. But as I reached for a steaming cup, a loud crash shattered the silence. The glass shattered, glistening like sharp stars across the floor. I froze, my heart racing. What did it mean? Was this a sign? As I stood there, caught in a moment of hesitation, I felt a strange warmth in my palm. Images flashed before me. A bustling market, crowds of people drawn in by the smell of roasting beans, laughter mixed with despair, and the question that hung heavy in the air. What was I destined to find in this journey of awakening? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon, and while you're there, smash that like button. It really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The echoes of the shattered glass faded, but the tremor within me lingered. I looked down at the sparkling shards scattered across the floor, remnants of something both beautiful and chaotic. Each shard seemed to whisper a different story, a fragment of hope intertwined with despair. Beneath the surface, a question churned. What did it cost to awaken the soul? The barista's gaze met mine with an intensity that made my heart skip. Not all awakenings are gentle, she cautioned, her voice lowering to a near whisper, rich with significance. The path you tread can be treacherous. The brew you choose matters profoundly. I felt her warning penetrate the twilight of my understanding. A realization flared within me. This journey would demand more than curiosity. It required reverence for the sacred. Determined, I stepped back, retreating from the barista's intriguing allure, and inhaled deeply. The aroma of roasted coffee beans soared through the air, wrapping around me like a warm embrace. Each note of chocolate and spice told stories of lands far away, realms where coffee didn't just awaken the senses but ignited the spirit if brewed with intention. Suddenly, a flicker of movement caught my eye. A figure in the corner, cloaked in shadows, drew me in. Drawn by an unspoken bond, I approached, feeling the air vibrate with unfiltered energy. As I drew closer, I recognized the face, an old man with silver hair and eyes that gleamed like obsidian. His presence felt familiar, as if he summoned a reservoir of wisdom buried deep within me. Seeker of truth, He smiled knowingly. Do you know what it truly means to awaken? His voice rumbled like distant thunder. I felt a shiver run down my spine, a mix of excitement and apprehension. To awaken is to dismantle, to uncover what has long been concealed. It is to brave the darkness. To dance with your shadows, and coffee is a mirror that reflects your inner landscape. Dance with my shadows? I echoed, grappling with confusion and intrigue. I had thought I sought light and enlightenment, not a confrontation with my own darkness. How can coffee play a role in that? He raised an eyebrow, drawing in a breath that seemed to resonate with the very essence of time. Coffee possesses the power to illuminate what lies beneath, but it can also amplify your fears. It holds the ability to shift perceptions. Choose wisely, for each cup offers a lesson, a doorway to another facet of your being. His words wrapped around my mind like tendrils of smoke, filling me with unspoken possibilities. I needed to understand more, to discover the depths of the abyss within and how coffee could guide me through that journey. The old man gestured to the center of the shop where a grand communal table stood. Intrigued, I approached, feeling as if I were being summoned to partake in something larger than myself. Around the table, patrons gathered, each with their unique cups, radiant with stories waiting to be shared. As I took my seat, the energy buzzed with conversation. Tales swirled through the air, some heartfelt, others laden with sorrow, but all marked by transformation. I could feel an invisible thread that bound us, reconnecting our stories through the common ritual of coffee. Not just a beverage, but a catalyst, a bridge that connected past, present, and future. The woman next to me shared her experience. I once believed coffee was merely a habit, she admitted, eyes glistening with memories. But one fateful cup changed everything. It opened my eyes to the possibilities of joy, rekindling forgotten passions. Her words echoed something deep within me. What was I overlooking in my own life? What passions lay dormant, waiting for the right brew to awaken them? But then, like the punch of lightning beneath the clouds, an unsettled thought surfaced. What about despair? What of the stories left unspoken, the shadowy corners of the heart? As the conversation flowed, I couldn't shake the weight of uncertainty. Each story offered fragments of light, but shadows loomed, reminding me of the delicate balance between awakening and being consumed by the very elixir meant to inspire. With the gathering pulsating with energy, the old man caught my gaze once again. Awakening is not a destination, he said, as if reading my mind, but a journey fraught with paradox. The coffee you choose and the conversations you embrace will guide you. But be mindful, not every encounter will lead to enlightenment. As he leaned back, a deeper silence enveloped me. I closed my eyes, striving to comprehend the gravity of what lay ahead. What shadows still awaited me? How could I embrace them while savoring the essence of awakening? And in this wild dance between dreams and reality, how would I discern the right path, the brew that would illuminate my truth rather than drown my spirit in despair? In that potent moment of reflection, a new question lingered in the air, infinitely complex and yet tantalizingly simple. What must I confront within myself to weave together the light and dark of my soul, allowing them to coexist in harmony? With the sun dipping towards the horizon, its light cast a golden hue over the gathered souls at the communal table. I caught tantalizing glimmers of stories mingling in the fragrant steam rising from our mugs. Yet my heart remained restless, searching for answers to the questions that buzzed within like a swarm of bees. The man's voice echoed in my mind. Awakening is not a destination. The weight of his words pressed heavy upon my spirit, beckoning me to explore deeper. As I sipped my coffee, a rich blend with notes of caramel and smoky earth, I felt it stirring within me, igniting dormant embers. But with each warming sip, I also recalled the shadows that lurked just beyond my comfort. Nearby, an elderly woman with silver hair handed her cup to another patron with a shy smile, a gesture that seemed to represent unspoken bonds, the human connection forged over shared experiences. In that moment, I glimpsed the truth. The coffee was a symbol of a rite, not just of awakening but also of vulnerability. Have any of you encountered your shadows while drinking coffee? I posed the question to the group, curious about their experiences. The ambience shifted as their faces transformed to reflect a spectrum of emotions. Curiosity, concern, and understanding mingled in their eyes. The woman who had shared her story earlier, a reminder of rekindled passions, began, her voice charged with emotion. I realized that every cup can bring up buried memories. The aroma, the taste, sometimes triggered joy, but other times, unexpected grief. I learned that embracing the shadows was just as important as celebrating the light. Her honesty inspired a ripple of nods throughout the table, reaffirming that collective recognition of the duality within us all. As we spoke, I noticed the old man listening intently, a deep furrow of contemplation etched into his brow. Something in me yearned for his insight, and I turned my gaze toward him once more, seeking his wisdom. What do we do when our shadows overwhelm us? How do we find clarity amidst the chaos? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. He leaned forward, eyes penetrating me with an intensity that felt reflective of ancient secrets. It is within the darkness that true understanding lies, he replied slowly. Rather than flee, allow yourself to remain present with what surfaces. Coffee can be a companion in this exploration, but only when approached with humility and patience. Sometimes, it is this journey that will carve the path to uncover your greatest truths. The questions you must ask become your guiding stars. His metaphor painted a vivid canvas in my mind. Each question I held, each shadow I feared could become a guiding star, illuminating new pathways in the vastness of my soul. Yet, apprehension lingered like a tide, surging at the edges of my consciousness. How could I navigate this labyrinth of discovery without losing my way? The sun slipped lower, and the vibrant light began to transform into a soft twilight, signaling a change in the atmosphere. As laughter and serious conversations drifted like sparks into the air, a figure disrupted the ebb of harmony. An impatient young man, clearly unsettled, burst into the cafe. He strode to the counter, ordering coffee with barely a glance. Eyes downcast, his energy felt charged with a tempest of unease. As he waited, I could feel his presence drawing attention, not just for his ire, but for the storm brewing in his soul. An instinct nagged at me. Was he a mirror reflecting the confusion I felt? Just as I opened my mouth to speak, the old man raised his hand gently, silencing me, yet most importantly, inviting the young man into the fold. The barista delivered his drink with a gentle smile, one that seemed to soften the lines of tension on his face. He hesitated, glancing around, before capturing the attention of the community. Do any of you understand what it is to feel utterly lost? He challenged, searching the gathering for a sympathetic ear. I'm still struggling with my decision to pursue this life, and every cup I drink just deepens the confusion. I thought coffee might help awaken some clarity, but it feels like a cruel joke. There it was, raw and unfiltered honesty that struck a chord. The air shimmered with collective understanding. I felt compelled to share my experience, to reach out with sincerity. It's okay to feel lost, I began, choosing my words carefully. Sometimes the journey itself is a guiding force. Your shadows can lead you to insights you never imagined. The young man paused, the tension in his shoulders easing slightly at the acknowledgement. But how do we know we're not just sinking deeper instead of awakening? Awakening requires courage, I retorted, igniting a spark of resilience in my own heart. Sometimes it's about trusting the process, allowing your shadows to teach you instead of paralyze you. Each cup can bring a new lesson if you're willing to listen. The evening wore on, with conversations ebbing and flowing like the tide, yet the tension within me simmered beneath the surface. The night wrapped around our gathering, woven with a sense of hopefulness and uncertainty. As I gazed out the window, watching the world transition from day to night, I was left with a pressing contemplation. Through each discussion, a pattern began to emerge, all tied to questions lingering unaddressed. I reflected on the old man's words of asking questions as guiding stars. Inspired by the young man's confrontation with his turmoil, another question surfaced, one that felt both profound and intimidating. How do I transform my inner chaos into a source of strength while embracing the shadows that guide me? And as I continued on this journey through the sacred influence of coffee, how would I unravel the duality of awakening without losing sight of my essence? The murmurs of the cafe settled into a rhythm, the clinking of cups forming a backdrop against which our souls continued to unveil their stories. Each person at the table became a poignant thread in a tapestry woven with vibrant colors of emotion. Yet, as the night deepened, I felt a subtle shift in atmospheric stillness that urged introspection. As the aroma of freshly brewed coffee mingled with the scent of baked goods, I turned my attention to the woman with silver hair. She had a serene quality about her, as if decades of experience had allowed her to embrace uncertainty with grace. "Tell me," I invited, drawn to the wisdom that seemed to glow around her, "what remains unspoken in this space? What truths have yet to surface?" Her gaze drifted to the dappled shadows created by the overhead lights, and I sensed her contemplating profound depths. "Ah, dear soul," she began, her voice a gentle melody. "The truth often hides behind layers, like the rich flavors in a good coffee. Sometimes we must brew slowly, allowing the essence to permeate. Each of us carries unrecognized gifts, but they often intertwine with our shadows." Curiosity rippled through me. And how do we brew those gifts, transforming our discomfort into something nourishing? I pressed, eager for guidance. She smiled softly, her eyes twinkling with the light of insight. "Embrace the journey. Every shadow you face is an opportunity to uncover something sacred within, perhaps a passion untold or a fear waiting for release. When was the last time you truly sat with your unease instead of rushing to silence it?" Her words resonated like a bell chiming within my heart. I had often silenced discomfort with fleeting distractions, but I felt the call to approach it differently. Could I allow my restlessness to untangle itself without fearing the chaos it might evoke? Before I could ponder further, the young man interjected. "But patience can feel like an eternity when each moment is shrouded in confusion. How do we remain hopeful?" "Hope is a flicker," the silver-haired woman responded with calm confidence. "It exists even within the darkest nights. You must learn to nurture it until it becomes a flame, guiding you slowly but surely." She paused, then added, "Keep track of the moments of insight, no matter how fleeting. Each connection, a whisper of truth. This gathering, this coffee, is a sacred space designed for unveiling." The mention of sacredness ignited an inner spark within me. It was true, this time spent sharing stories over coffee felt like a ritual, a communion of souls seeking clarity. I began to wonder about what it meant for me personally. What would it look like to embrace the idea of sacred space in my everyday life? With newfound resolve, I looked at my companions, each a vessel of experiences, and posed a question that had blossomed within me. If this table represents our sacred gathering, what are the shadows we must confront to invite deeper truths into our lives? The question hung in the air, intertwining with the gentle steam rising from our drinks. One by one, they began to share their deepest fears. The young man spoke of expectations suffocating his dreams. The woman with rekindled passions recounted her struggle to break free from societal molds. Even the elderly man shared his unvoiced concerns about aging and relevance in a world fixated on youth. As each truth emerged, I felt a communal courage build, a thread binding our reflections together. These confessions encapsulated the essence of the journey, embracing vulnerability, allowed us to unlock our hidden truths. I, too, thought of my own lingering shadows, the pressures of expectations, the fear of unworthiness, and the urgent need to find my unique path. A vibrant question bubbled to the surface of my consciousness, lingering with a sense of urgency. In what ways can I engage with my shadows to reveal the unspoken truths that reside within me? How might these inquiries guide me toward a deeper awakening, allowing me to recognize the sacred power of vulnerability and acceptance? As the moments passed, we blended laughter with bittersweet revelations, and the atmosphere transformed into a sanctuary where souls could intricately dance around truth. With each shared experience, my commitment to rediscovering my essence deepened. Yet the mystery of my spiritual journey loomed unaddressed, and I could feel it pressing upon my heart like a weighty blanket. How could I fully integrate the lessons beneath the surface of my struggles without losing the essence of who I am? And as I savored the connections formed amidst shadows and light, would I find the courage within to trust the process of awakening? The warmth of the cafe enveloped us, but a palpable coolness settled in my chest as I contemplated the depths of our conversation. With the flickering candlelight casting ethereal shadows on the walls, I felt compelled to delve further into the hidden corridors of our shared experiences. What revelations would emerge from the delicate dance of vulnerability laid bare in this sacred circle? As the last words of the silver-haired woman lingered, a wave of silence fell over us, each person nervously wrestling with the echoes of their truths. It was then that I noticed a new presencia man seated in the corner, his attentiveness almost palpable. He wore a weathered leather jacket, a testament to journeys uncounted, and beneath his grizzled beard lay eyes that sparkled like distant stars. "Forgive my intrusion," he interjected softly, his voice like a gentle current. But I couldn't help but listen. "You speak of shadows and truths, but have you considered the power of our stories, how they weave the very fabric of our existence?" His unexpected wisdom drew our attention, and I felt a pull to engage with him. "Tell us, what do stories reveal about our shadows?" I invited, curious as to what this enigmatic figure might share. He leaned forward, casting his thoughts like breadcrumbs for us to follow. "Stories are the vessels through which we explore our inner landscapes. They guide us to confront our fears and illuminate the hidden meanings of our experiences. Every burden carried has the potential to transform into a tale rich with depth and significance." I nodded, sensing a burgeoning connection. "How do we truly begin to tell our stories, especially those we fear the most?" The man let out a slight chuckle, one filled with the wisdom of trials weathered. "Sometimes the act of sharing is the sheer acknowledgement of the pain that exists within. It starts with honesty, allowing your heart to sift through the weight of memories until you can voice them out loud. Even the darkest chapters of our narratives can become lighthouses if illuminated with vulnerability." As his words resonated with me, I thought about my own story, an equation entangled with past errors, doubts, and aspirations interwoven with heartbreak. How could I transform these moments into fuel for my soul's journey? The silver-haired woman spoke once more, breaking the ensuing silence. "Perhaps you could begin by listening to yourself, to the moments you tend to brush aside. What wisdom does your inner voice hold?" Her question seemed to echo through my very being, inspiring an inner dialogue that begged to be heard. Would I have the courage to listen closely to the whispers that lay tucked away beneath the cacophony of everyday life? Outside, the evening deepened, the streets growing darker as the world beyond the cafe continued in oblivion to our unveiling. I found myself lost in thought, pondering the significance of this gathering. What if our collective stories were not merely a solace, but a collective understanding that transcended individual pain? Just then, the young man, emboldened by the space we had created, ventured to share a truth that shivered through the air. "I've been carrying a fear of opening myself to love, and what it might demand of me. What if I give everything, and still fall short?" The weight of his vulnerability landed softly in the room, allowing grace to descend upon us. We responded with encouragement, our voices merging like threads, weaving an intricate pattern of support. It became evident that the act of revealing what we once silenced held immeasurable power, not only for our own healing but for one another. As we continued to interact, I realized that this dance of confessions reflected a universal theme cobbled together through the threads of our distinct lives, all leading us towards a deeper awakening. I began wondering whether this gathering truly signified a beginning, one where each of us was invited to embrace our stories, however thorny, rather than evade them. But beneath this newfound clarity loomed a question that encircled my heart like an unrelenting tide. If our shadows held the seeds of transformation, could it be that the truest essence of our journey remained hidden beneath layers of denial, waiting emergently to be explored? In a moment of divine realization, I recognized that my journey was far from linear. It was a continuous unraveling of thoughts, fears, and joys tangled tightly. Amidst my companions, I found solace in the understanding that every shared story echoed a deeper purpose, a celebration of what it means to be imperfect, yet yearning for growth. As we prepared to depart, I felt the lingering energy of our ritual, a tethering of souls seeking understanding. In the stillness that followed, a new reflection nudged my consciousness. How might I learn to embrace the stories that had shaped me, unearthing each shadow's truth with love and compassion? And in doing so, could I finally begin to acknowledge the sacred tapestry that was my life, woven beautifully with threads of light and dark? The cafe's warmth clung to my skin as I stepped outside, each breath a reminder of the quiet energy we had shared. The city hummed with life, a bustling orchestra of voices, footsteps, and laughter. But within me, an echo of the evening lingered, a melody woven from the threads of our confessions. I walked into the night, pondering how our collective vulnerability had created a cocoon of intimacy, one that granted me a deeper perception of not just myself but of those around me. With each step along the cobbled streets, I couldn't help but revisit the stories from that gathering. The man in the corner, whose name I hadn't yet learned, had opened a portal of reflection that felt both infinite and intimate. What stories had shaped his life? What shadows were cradled within his spirit? As if prompted by a coiled instinct, I turned back towards the cave but hesitated. Was it the stories that drew me back, or the yearning to explore my own? Seeking solace, I meandered toward the nearby park, illuminated under the silver glow of a crescent moon. A bench welcomed me, an invitation to sit and reflect. I felt the coolness of the night air wrap around me, grounding my swirling thoughts. Opening my palms toward the sky, I considered the depths of vulnerability I'd tasted that night. What if I dared to unravel the threads of my story, allowing the night to cradle my fears and dreams as I began to speak my truth into the universe? Just then, a rustling in the bushes beside the path caught my attention. A stray dog emerged, shaggy and timid, eyes filled with apprehension and longing. Drawing forth a piece of the bread I had on me, I offered it cautiously, hoping to bridge the gap of trust. Much like my own journey, here was a creature burdened with its own fears, yet yearning for connection. As it hesitantly approached, I sensed a kindred spirit in this unassuming neighbor of the night, and in that moment, under the watchful gaze of the stars, I recognized the parallels between my own unearthing of self and this gentle creature's journey. It sparked a revelation within me. Perhaps every being we encounter carries an invaluable lesson, a reflection of our struggles distilled into a living truth. I put aside my bread, ultimately realizing that sometimes what was needed most wasn't merely sustenance, but the warmth of understanding. With each bite he took, I felt pieces of my own fear melt away, the fear of rejection, the fear of vulnerability, the fear of being alone. The simplicity of connection lit a flame within, illuminating questions that danced whimsically in my mind. What if embracing the shadows within myself could lead to the same transformation I was witnessing in this timid being? What if, in the act of nurturing another, I found the courage to nurture my own story? As I fed the dog, I caught sight of a couple walking hand in hand, laughter spilling from their lips like sunlight breaking through clouds. Their radiance further spurred my curiosity. Could it be that love's simplest expression had the power to free us from our shackles? Love, in all its forms, romantic, platonic, self-love, was undoubtedly part of the mosaic of our stories. With this realization blossoming in my heart, I was compelled to ponder. Were we not all seekers tangled in relationships that pushed us to confront our shadows? Did not each connection offer us a mirror through which we could glimpse deeper truths? The thought filled me with an exhilarating sense of possibility. What kind of depth awaited us if we chose to embrace each relationship as sacred, deliberating on the lessons they imparted? The stray dog finished his offering, and as he retreated into the shadows once more, I felt a new understanding ignite within me. My journey was not solely about the stories I had to share, but also about the stories I had yet to uncover, interwoven through my interactions with others. With a renewed sense of purpose, I made my way back home, the night alive with silent musings on transformation. As the echoes of the cafe's gathering threaded through my mind, I considered what lay ahead. Was I prepared to fully immerse myself in my experiences, embracing both the light and the dark? The lingering question hung in the air as I crossed my threshold. How could Levine, all its many forms, serve not just as a refuge from fear, but as a catalyst for unveiling the sacred truths that abide within the heart? As I drifted into a restless sleep, I felt the sacred influence of the night, whispering promises of awakening yet to come. The morning sun filtered through my window, rippling across the floor like a golden river, prompting me to rise and greet the day. My thoughts lingered on the stray dog. The warmth of our brief encounter felt etched into my heart, whispering that messages often arrive in unexpected forms. What lessons awaited me today? After indulging in a hurried breakfast, I decided to return to the coffee's sacred space that had begun to feel like a second home. Each step there felt purposeful, and as I entered, the soft aroma of freshly brewed coffee enveloped me in a familiar embrace. I chose a window seat, the kind that overlooked the street yet felt cocooned within the cafe's lively spirit. As I sipped my coffee, I noticed the random details around me. The laughter of a child, a couple sharing a slice of cake, and a man scribbling furiously in a notebook. Each moment rippled through me, igniting questions. How might these simple interactions be a pathway to greater understanding? My gaze landed on the man at the corner table, the same one who had shared his vulnerability the previous evening. With time, he had risen to the role of silent observer, deeply engaged in his own creative process. Today, I felt an urge to connect with him, as if unseen threads drew us closer. I tentatively approached and, with a small smile, asked if I could join him. At first, he looked up startled, yet there was an openness in his eyes. "Of course," he replied, gesturing toward a vacant chair. As I sat down, an electric charge filled the space between us. I introduced myself, and under the gentle light of the cafe, we began sharing fragments of our life stories. Our conversation expanded, weaving through dreams, fears, and moments of profound realization. With each shared thought, it felt as if we were unraveling the very fabric of our existence. He spoke of lost connections and hopes cloaked in shadows. I shared my awakening to vulnerability and the beauty found in shedding fear. In those fragile exchanges, barriers dissolved. The cafe transformed into a sacred ground for our souls to intertwine as we talked. An elderly woman approached our table, her presence commanding yet warm. She leaned in and said, "You both have a light about you. Don't let it dim." Her words settled like seeds in my heart, birthing discomfort yet igniting curiosity. Who was she to recognize a light within me? What did she see that I had yet to uncover? Moments later, she handed us both a small, intricately designed card. "Take these and reflect," she said, her voice a symphony of wisdom. As she walked away, I examined the card, which bore an image of intertwined roots, the words grounded in connection written beneath. The phrase echoed in my mind. It was a reminder of all the connections that had been forged through shared experiences, each one constructing the mosaic of our existence. What would it mean to delve deeper into these connections, not just with others, but with the deepest aspects of myself? With my thoughts racing, I turned back to my new companion. "Do you ever feel that we're all more connected than we realize?" I asked, eager to explore the notion further. His eyes lit up, igniting a flame of mutual understanding. "Yes," he replied thoughtfully. "It's as if every story we encounter is a thread in a greater tapestry. Each person I meet feels like a chapter in my own life, teaching me something new." His perspective resonated within me, weaving seamlessly into the fabric of my thoughts. The stray dog, the two lovers, the wise woman, each was a thread promising to connect me to a greater truth, a truth yet to be revealed. Yet, amid this blossoming understanding, a lingering question persisted in the shadows of my mind. As mystery wrapped itself around my heart, I wondered, what connections are still waiting to unfold? What hidden truths linger, yearning to emerge into the light? Deep down, would surrendering to love's power guide me toward these revelations? With the card resting gently in my palms, I acknowledged how far I had come while recognizing the journey ahead. As the cafe's collective energy swirled around us, I sensed the sacred influence of the moments shared and the lessons yet to be learned. The universe seemed to whisper in anticipation. The day ebbed slowly into the evening, a soft light cascading through the cafe windows as if to beckon the world to a tranquil close. I found solace in the heartfelt conversation with my companion, whose name was Michael. Our dialogue had transformed from tentative exchanges into a vibrant exploration of what it meant to truly live. As we spoke, our voices danced like fireflies at dusk, illuminating fragments of our souls. I became aware of the ebb and flow within our connection, an exquisite resonance that echoed through the air, tinged with familiarity. Smiles, laughter, and moments of poignant silence became our guideposts, illuminating the path to deeper revelations. Yet it was then that I noticed something curious. An unassuming chalkboard stood near the entrance of the cafe, adorned with listings of various events and gatherings hosted that week. One event caught my eye, a small book club meeting titled Unraveling the Mysteries of the Self. The synchronicity of its name felt electric, sending ripples of excitement coursing through me. Was this a sign, an invitation to delve even deeper into the enigma of my own existence? I mentioned it to Michael, who leaned in closer, a spark igniting in his eyes. "We should go. Just think of the possibilities," he exclaimed. His enthusiasm was contagious, and the idea seemed to shimmer, growing into something tangible. What if this meeting was not merely about books, but rather an exploration of the depths of our beings, a gathering of kindred spirits eager to uncover the threads that bind us all? "Let's do it," I replied, a smile blooming on my lips. Let's discover what hidden truths await us there. As we settled our tabs, I couldn't shake the feeling that this meeting was the next layer of my spiritual journey, a step toward unraveling the connection I yearned to explore. Michael and I exchanged contact information, buoyed by the idea of embarking on this new adventure together. Underneath an expanse of fading daylight, I stepped out of the cafe, the cool breeze brushing against my skin like a gentle reminder of the world's vastness. The streets were alive, sprinkled with glimmers of conversation and laughter, each sound weaving into a beautiful symphony of existence. I found myself captivated by the people around me, their routines overlapping like the threads of a grand tapestry. Yet in the midst of this beauty, a thought emerged from the shadows of my mind. What exactly was I hoping to find in the process of uncovering these hidden truths? Was it merely knowledge, or was it something deeper? I pondered my heart's desires, juxtaposed against the fears that bubbled close to the surface. Could I truly embrace vulnerability in all its forms? As I meandered through the streets, I noticed a small art gallery tucked between two shops. The vibrant colors spilling out from the open doorway drew me in. Curiosity piqued. I stepped inside to find an array of art pieces, each one a window into a different soul. As I wandered through the exhibits, I felt a magnetic pull toward a particular painting, a riot of colors that swirlingly formed a spiral. It captured the essence of growth and introspection, imbued with a sense of wanderlust. What struck me most, however, was not merely the colors or the craftsmanship, but the profound sense of connection I felt with the artist, even without knowing their story. It struck me then art could be a bridge between souls, revealing unspoken truths about the human experience. With every brush stroke, an artist communicates emotions and beliefs that resonate with others, forging connections deeper than words could convey. As I stood absorbing the energy of the gallery, the artist's journey whispered to me, what if my own life was a work of art in progress? How could I begin to paint with bolder strokes, embracing the vibrant chaos of my own story, while also allowing the rich narratives of others to intertwine with mine? With questions swirling in my heart, I left the gallery, the weight of my thoughts guiding me like a lantern through the night. The stars twinkled overhead, twinkling like ideas waiting to be birthed. In this moment, I realized that each experience I encountered was woven into the fabric of my Bena, sacred thread in the tapestry of existence. What awaited me in this awakening? What stories would emerge from the layers of vulnerability, connection, and exploration of self? The horizon lay open before me, and with it came a profound invitation to surrender to the unfolding journey. I couldn't help but wonder what powerful revelations awaited just around the corner, hidden in the depths of my own heart. The following days unfolded like a delicate tapestry, each impression a strand intertwining with the other, as I awaited the book club meeting. With anticipation feeding my imagination, I found myself reflecting on the different moments that had shaped my past few days. Every interaction held a promise, a chance to dive deeper into the swirling currents of connection I had started to sense. Michael and I exchanged messages, sharing bits of our lives that echoed with discoveries from our previous encounter. He spoke of how every person he met seemed like an echo of himself, each interaction a reminder of a long-lost piece of his own spirit. Those words struck a chord within me, amplifying my longing to understand how these shared connections could inform my own journey. The book club's purpose continued to shimmer in my mind, imbued now with a sense of personal significance. As the evening of the meeting approached, I found myself recalling the diverse lives I had encountered and their stories that unfolded like vivid colors on a canvas. The memory of the artist's bold spiral painting resurfaced, evoking thoughts about my own path. Had I truly begun to cultivate the courage to embrace the brush strokes of my life? Or was I still holding back in fear of what colors might clash? The air was thick with possibilities as I approached the small community center where the book club was set to meet. I could already hear laughter and hushed whispers that spilled out, offering a comforting invitation into the warmth of the gathering. Michael awaited me by the entrance, his enthusiasm radiating through the crowd, dissipating the nervous energy that threatened to constrict my heart. As we stepped inside, I felt a palpable shift. The energy felt vibrant and alive. A circle of folding chairs had been arranged, with twinkling fairy lights casting a gentle glow across the faces of those gathered. Each participant appeared to carry a spark, an energy that blended seamlessly with mine, igniting sparks of familiarity amid the unknown. The host, a kind woman with a warm smile and a gentle presence, initiated the evening by sharing her own journey of discovery, a tale woven with the jagged edges of struggles and the embroidered motifs of joy that followed. She spoke passionately about the importance of peeling away the layers to reveal one's true essence. We are all works in progress, she emphasized, and every meeting, every connection, is an opportunity to attend to that canvas. As the gathering commenced, stories flowed like hot coffee, rich with the bittersweet flavors of human experience. New friends shared difficulties, aspirations, and dreams, each telling a tale tinged with vulnerability that drew me in, revealing glimmers of truths I had long awaited. One participant spoke of her experience in meditation, describing how it served as a mirror, allowing her to confront the hidden shadows lurking within. Another shared a journey through grief, revealing how, amid loss, she had unexpectedly found strength, transforming her sorrow into a mantle of compassion for others. Their words reverberated through the air, awakening something deep within me. What must I confront to unveil the brilliance of my own spirit? As the evening unfolded, I began to jot down notes, trying to capture insights and fragments of wisdom, but I noticed my written thoughts were mere echoes of the deeper reflections sparking within. The essence of our collective journey resonated louder than individual expression, hinting at something significant brewing beneath the surface. Then, in a moment of stillness, I dared to voice a question. What do you think it means to truly unravel the mysteries of the self? Can we ever know all the layers within us? The inquiry lingered in the air, as if it were tethered to the luminescence of shared experience. A hush fell over the group, eyes bright with contemplation, before the host responded gently. Perhaps it's not about reaching a destination of absolute knowledge, but rather embracing the journey itself, every discovery, every doubt as essential. Brush strokes in the masterpiece of our lives. Her words sunk deep, creating ripples within my consciousness. What treasure lay dormant within me, waiting to be explored? What uncharted territories of my heart could be navigated by embracing the unknown? As the meeting began to draw to a close, the fire of connection lingered among us, illuminating the thread of unity that wove our narratives together. With gratitude swelling in my chest, I left the room feeling lighter, buoyed by an inexplicable sense of communion. Outside, bathed in moonlight, I pondered my own reflection embedded within this collective. The questions persisted, intertwining with the night air. What hidden truths lay buried beneath the surface of my soul, awaiting illumination? How might my journey inspire others, revealing the sacred connections we all share? Would I possess the courage to embrace every brush stroke of my life, painting it boldly into existence? Stars danced overhead, twinkling as if whispering forgotten promises. The night stretched before me, a canvas yet unfinished, a testament to the sacred influence of the journey that was gently asking to unfold. In the days that followed, the weight of my revelations settled over me like a comforting blanket, wrapping me in the warmth of new perspectives. Each morning, I awoke with a renewed sense of purpose, a quiet determination to delve deeper into the mysteries that had begun to unfurl within my heart. My encounters with Michael, our shared laughter, and the stories exchanged from those at the book club clung to me, reverberating through my mind like the call of distant chimes one afternoon. As I sat sipping a steaming cup of coffee in that ever-sacred cafe, I felt a gentle pull toward the barristade woman who had first recognized my search for truth. Her luminous smile was akin to sunlight filtering through treetops, inviting the warmth that resided within me to emerge. With a heart fluttering in anticipation, I decided it was time to unveil my own story, to share the distant echoes of my burdens and joys, illuminating the shadows that had held me captive for far too long. "Can I tell you something?" I ventured, my voice slightly trembling yet filled with earnestness. The barista, her eyes brimming with understanding, paused her movements and turned to face me, giving me her full attention. Of course, she encouraged softly. "I've learned that each cup of coffee holds a lesson, reflection of the journey I've been on. I realize that my shadows are not just fragments of darkness. They are the roots from which my light grows," I confessed, feeling the truth of my words solidify in the space between us. She nodded, her gaze encouraging. "You're beginning to understand the alchemy of it all. It's as if the bitterness of those shadows transforms into sweetness when we allow ourselves to embrace them rather than run from them. Coffee is indeed a mirror of the soul." In that moment, clarity washed over me, and a powerful realization pierced through the labyrinth of my thoughts, illuminating a truth I had been groping for. Each trial I had faced, each moment gripped by fear, had nurtured my resilience and served as the foundation for my growth. What I had once perceived as mere shadows were merely the outlines of my potential waiting to be filled with vibrant colors. I looked at the barista, feeling a wave of gratitude surge within me. Her next words brought a sense of peace. "Each of us is a tapestry, woven from the moments that shape us, from love and loss to joy and pain. Embrace your narrative, for it is sacred. Allow your vulnerability to become the brush you wield as you paint your truth into existence." With a newfound lightness, I returned to the table, pondering her words, recalling the stories shared at the book club, the threads of connection that intertwined our lives. A quiet epiphany began to dawn. Perhaps the journey of awakening I sought was not solely about transcending challenges but also about weaving those experiences into a coherent narrative of self-acceptance and love. With each sip of my coffee, I began to visualize my insights coalescing into a living tapestry, vibrant threads representing the moments of vulnerability intertwined with those shimmering in gratitude and connection. In that cafe, I felt that awakening stirring within me like the rich aroma of fresh coffee, filling the space with profound possibility. Days turned into weeks, and I continued to gather with Michael and the others, exchanging not only words, but also our very essence, each conversation reminiscent of an elaborate dance, fluid, unpredictable, and splendidly human. Together, we navigated our narratives, each sharing the shadowy corners we had dared to tread and celebrating the moments where light had flooded in, illuminating our path. As more layers were uncovered, I began to embrace my full story, not just the highlights or the shadows, but every experience that made me who I was. I learned to let the ink of my journey flow freely. I started to write, capturing the rapture and complexities within the realm of my existence. Each word I poured onto the page was a gentle reminder of the awakening that enveloped me like a warm embrace. On one particularly transformative evening, as I stood before the bay window of my home, reflecting on the journey I had taken since that fateful dream, I was struck by the realization that this wasn't merely a passage through shadows and light. It had transcended to an understanding of balance, the yin and yang of existence. The evening unfolded with a celestial dance as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky with ethereal hues of purple and gold. I felt the universe conspiring, enveloping me with its mysteries while inviting me to step into my power, a reminder that every cup shared held the potential for insight, healing, and connection. As I prepared to leave for the cafe once more, a thought blossomed. What if we were all engaged in a sacred ritual fueled by openness and vulnerability? What if love and connection were the alchemical forces that transformed our experiences into wisdom? It was in this space of understanding that I dawned in awareness, recognizing my role in this intricate web of Lithian interconnector of stories and souls. I resolved to continue nurturing the relationships I had fostered, knowing that the threads infused with honesty would transform the tapestry of humanity. As I stepped into the twilight, I felt the electrifying pulse of the universe surge through me, affirming my place in this grand symphony that was life. Accompanied by that familiar aroma of coffee, I realized how beautifully intertwined our narratives were, how the sacred influence of coffee served as a vessel for courage, connection, and awakening. I am closing that chapter of my journey. I understood, with unwavering clarity, that we are all storytellers, painting our experiences against the expansive canvas of existence. The shadows serve as signposts, guiding us toward epiphanies we are all destined to unfold. And as I walked on, I carried within me a potent truth, one that echoed like an ancient mantra. In the alchemy of vulnerability and connection, may we transform our shadows into light and recognize that it is in the depth of our stories where true awakening resides. Each journey shared, a sacred reminder that we are never alone. Each sip of coffee, an invitation to embrace the richness of our human experience. For in the tapestry of life, it is the fullness of our stories that unites us all.